Well, hey, we are live. Welcome to another impromptu discussion stream. I suppose that's what we call these. And again, I'm joined by the absolute fucking legend. That is, hey, internet, Eric here. Fucking dude is the tits. He knows his stuff. He does some fucking great streams with another cohort of his, and he does some fantastic reviews. If you haven't checked out his channel, what the fuck are you doing? Before you go anywhere, watch this first, but then check out his channel. But I digress. Today
Absolutely.
we are looking at 1995's Night of the Demons, and my fucking laptop shit. The fuck I can't even pick up the cover. Anywho, this movie is the fucking bomb. This movie is obviously a feature-length version of the kind of Tales from the Crypt series from that ran from the 80s into the 90s and had a really fucking impressive cast. If you want more on Tales from the Crypt, check out my gorgeous lady Jen Mitchell's reviews, because her and Christian review episodes of that. But I digress. We're going to be talking about this badass movie. Eric, what's your thoughts on 1995's Tales from the Crypt Demon's Night?
In my opinion, I think it's like the perfect horror movie, the perfect fun horror movie. We got fantastic cast. Every character serves a purpose. Every character is likable, even if you hate them. You know what I mean. The action is great. The gore is over the top. You have a little bit of Crypt Keeper in the bookend, which is all you really need him for. Fantastic soundtrack. The look, the way the demons look. Everything. In my opinion, this is lightning in a bottle.
It kicks arse, and
Mm-hmm.
as you said, like that there is a fucking stacked cast of
Mm-hmm.
character actors in this. William Sadler, Billy Zane, Dick Miller, can't go wrong with Dick Miller.
Right.
CCH Pounder, who you might know, she was the voice of Amanda Waller in Justice League.
Yep. I
Um,
love her in The
I'm
Shield.
probably missing people. I'm probably missing more. Who's
Uh,
the guy who voiced Roger
Roger
Rabbit?
Rabbit, Charles Fleischer. He is
Yeah,
he's the one that's in love with the hooker.
the
I can't remember.
postman.
Yeah, and then you have Thomas Hayden Church. From
Yeah.
Wings and Spider-Man 3. He plays Roach. Um, so many people are in this. It's just so much fun. And Jada Pinkett, before she was Jada Pinkett
Yeah.
Smith, she's like, I guess you'd say, the final girl. So fucking great. Everybody is fantastic in this movie.
And it balances the horror and the comedy perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's up there with Evil Dead 2.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Dorsey, hey dude. Yeah, that's who we're talking. Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yep.
Before she got married and before her husband got slapped fucking happy. And imagine that. That's how they defeated Billy Zane in the end. Fucking Will just comes in and backhands him. Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. But I digress.
That slapping only works for low level demons. I didn't make the rules.
It's a class movie though. So the movie starts off and we're following a character called Frank Breaker, played by
Mm-hmm.
William Sadler. You may know him as the villain from Die Hard 2,
Mm-hmm.
and also his debut in Die Hard 2 was him doing naked Tai Chi. Luckily enough, in this, he doesn't do that.
Right.
He's driving a car and he's being pursued by Billy Zane, who's the collector. And this is an interesting setup, Eric, because we don't know what the fuck is going on. We don't know who the hero or the protagonist or villain is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is that a good opening? Did you think that was a cool way to open it?
Well, for the way it opens up, it's a fucking car chase. Okay, Breaker's being chased by the collector. You don't know who's who. You don't know who's the good guy until maybe 20 minutes into the actual story. When shit hits the fan, and it's great because there's no dialogue. It's just them chasing each other. And then, Breaker swings aside. He shoots at the collector. Collector doesn't even fucking flinch. He's driving. The car's on flames. Car eventually blows up. And then Breaker tries to go find some sanctuary. And then Collector is found later. It's great because you can think that maybe Breaker is the villain. Because why? Because if you think about it, the Collector, he's dressed up to me like a bounty hunter. He's got the coat. The cowboy hat, and he is after Breaker for a reason, but to me it looks like he's the lawman after an escaped convict, and you don't really know what's going on until you know what's going on.
Yeah, where you got Breaker dressed up in the the kind of shabby leather jacket and the glove, and he's a bit ratty looking, and it's William Sadler. William Sadler always plays fucking bad guys. I don't think Billy Zane was like this was before Titanic, so we didn't really see Billy Zane play bad guys up until this point. And he kicks fucking arse. It's a cool way to introduce it. And obviously, Breaker's car gets destroyed. He tries stealing another car, but is caught, and then bumps into Dick Miller's Willie, Uncle Willie.
Uncle Willie. Yeah, Uncle Willie, not King Willie. Just make sure there is a difference. Uncle Willie. He's already half in the bag, night on the town. And he sees basically, he sees someone. He's like, "Hey, I got a place you can stay," and because William Shelley, he already failed in trying to steal the car, so he knows people are out looking for him probably. So he just needs a place to hole up and hide, and hanging out with this drunk and going someplace is possibly better than just staying out in the open where he's at, because it's about ready to rain and all that stuff, and he has to obviously. When you find out his backstory, he has to get someplace, to hide. Yeah, he can't be out in the open.
It wasn't like, isn't it good as well that like the halfway house was like an old church?
Right. It was an old church.
Yeah, it was an old church, and that's run by CCH Pounders. I forget a character's name. I feel bad, but we you know who we're talking about anyway.
Oh, yeah.
CCH Pounders character. She's a bit skeptical, but then Breaker like fires up a couple of hundreds, and she's like, "Okay, no
money talks."
Yeah, and like we get to meet the rest of the characters.
She's Irene.
Brenda Bake's kind of prostitute. There's also fucking
Wally is the policeman.
Yeah.
Who's got the crush on her, and then Geraldine is played by Jada Pinkett. She is there basically because she was stealing. So she's like, it's like a work release, or what do you call it?
Kind of take a scheme together back on the straight and narrow kind of thing. Yeah. So we meet all these characters, and like they've got their own eccentricities and stuff like that, and it's clever because like it doesn't take too long to set these characters up, and we're kind of like, okay, I like this character, this character is a bit of a dick, and it's an interesting kind of like setup.
Yeah, all the characters are great. Like Irene is CCH Pounder. She's the loudmouth. She's the heavy. You know what I mean? I'm not just saying because she's a big girl. She's the heavy. She's the boss. And the way she talks, and because I fucking love CCH and everything she's in, even when she's just like, the radio DJ in Psycho 4. She is fantastic in everything. And then Geraldine, she is she's trying to get on the straight and narrow, but you can tell she's got all this angst. Cordelia is the lovable hooker, you know what I mean? Like the prostitute with the heart of gold or whatever, she knows Wally's got a crush on him. She's like, maybe I'll give him a freebie. And then Irene's like, yeah, someone else screwing him. You know what I mean? Wally is the little puppy dog that's in love with her. Roach is the guy sleeping with Cordelia for money, and he's just there to be the likable asshole. Everybody's got a little tick in them, and they're all great. Yeah. And then Uncle Willie's just the lovable drunk.
They're like, again, there's so many great character moments and uses of humor. Just like Cordelia's sitting up on the table, kind of trying to tempt Breaker, and CCH Pounder comes over and goes, "Get that pussy off the table, and make sure that cat ain't up there either."
Yeah, I meant I love when Breaker's like he's eating dinner and it looks like pea soup with like he puts a bunch of ketchup in it, and Uncle Willie's just staring at him. And then Breaker's just like, "You want some?" He's like, "Nah, I would eat that shit if you paid me." That type of fucking hilarious lines.
It's a great setup for characters, and then the best fucking character in the movie shows up, and I'd watched movies before, and I'm like, fucking Billy Zane, fucking dickhead, he does the same thing over and over again. Jock, he turns up and he is brilliant. I think he described it as he wanted to do the genie from Disney's Aladdin if he was fucking evil.
I
If
could
he was
definitely
evil.
see that. I could definitely, and what an entrance too, because you think, if you don't know what's going on with the movie, he's dead in the car explosion. You got Deputy Bob, the best generic cop name ever, Deputy Bob. You know what I mean? And the sheriff, and they're looking at the accident, and then he like a pimp just walks out of the fire, unsinged and everything. You know what I mean? They put him in the back of the squad car, and they find out Breaker is at the hotel or whatever. Roach has just shown up. He's taking Cordelia upstairs. And again, you got to listen. These little lines Roach says. Like, Roach is disgusting, man, but he's like, you wearing those edible panties? I want to put some of them in my salad later. Just little lines and bullshit like that. And then it's great because, like you said, it's the mixture of the comedy. They bring the collector in, and the sheriff is with Breaker and everybody, and he sends Deputy Bob upstairs. And they find Cordelia. He's got Roach hooked up, like his nipples are hooked up to like a car battery. And the way he busts in the door, she gets freaked out. She accidentally turns the battery all the way up, and it's this little like Three Stooges, like my nipples are smoking moment. If it wasn't a Tales from the Crypt movie, it would be stupider than shit. But you gotta realize there's a little bit of cheese when it comes with Tales from the Crypt, and this is like perfectly put in this movie. That type of stuff.
What does Deputy Bob come up with? What was going on up there? Don't know. It looked like something like an oil change in a whorehouse or something.
And it's like, shut up, Bob. No, Chief, you need to know what I saw. Shut up, Bob. You know what I mean? It's such a small town; they all know Deputy
Know
Bob.
each
It's
other,
that type of thing.
Also, big hello to Magnum Mac. Thanks for
Hey,
stopping
Magnum.
in, dude. But so, Breaker essentially takes Jada Pinkett Smith's character hostage when he's like confronted,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously we soon realize this guy isn't a bad guy because he doesn't hurt her. He's like,
Right.
fuck it, I'll let you go, but
Mm-hmm.
he lets her go. He relinquishes her. Cops take him, and then fucking the collector, Billy Zane's character, is like, oh, well, I'll take this, and the cops are like, no, 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 hold on. There's some warrants for you, and there's some incidents involving you as well, so we're going to take you in. And the facade just drops, and it comes down like Eric. What do you think of that bit where Billy Zane shows these true colors?
Oh my God! It's one of the best moments in a movie full of great moments because first off, it's a great standoff scene. You know what I mean? And even the collector says no, he will not hurt her. He knows Breaker's intentions. And then they're all both getting handcuffed, and Breaker says, if you knew who this guy was, and blah, blah, blah. And suddenly, cut a couple seconds later, and then the collector himself says, well, like he said, if you knew who I was, we're going to find out in a couple minutes. He says, why wait? And literally, he turns around and he fucking punches through the sheriff's mouth.
Yeah.
And you see it's this great shot of the back of the sheriff's head, and you see the fist come out and the brains and all the shit. And to add the comedy and the cheese, because this is a Tales from the Crypt movie, Billy Zane's fucking hand is stuck. He cannot.
Yeah, he's trying to fucking shit.
He can't
get his hand out and do the
he's struggling, and finally he just has to rip the sheriff's head off, and he just lofts it at Breaker, and it's just a perfect mixture of gore, holy shit moment because like Irene's puking, terror, intensity, comedy because the hand is stuck. It's so well shot. Ernest Dickinson knows what he's doing here, and it's just wonderful chaos.
It's like you've everyone screaming. You've the fucking Zane's hand lodged through the. There's all this shit going on, and Dickinson himself, I think, before he got directed movies, he was a cinematographer, and as you pointed out. He shoots it perfectly. He gets the angles, he gets the action.
Yeah.
Like a lesser director would kind of be trying to fucking balance cutting and stuff like that. Especially the camera tricks of him punching because it's fucking done seamlessly.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens exactly. Breaker gets the advantage and pushes
Breaker gets he's able to get the key, that was being locked up, and I think he puts it on the collector's cheek, which burns him. Then the collector jumps out of the window.
Mhm.
And then that's when Billy Zane goes full crazy. he takes off his
I love that line.
his coat and everything. He's like, fuck this cowboy shit.
You fucking hold on, motherfucker.
Yeah, fucking hold dunk, podunk. Well then, there, motherfuckers. He says, all you gotta do is give me the goddamn key. He's like, or he says, and he also is like, humans, you're not worth the flesh you're printed on. And then you see because he's otherworldly. If he can survive the fucking car crash, the key fucking burns him. But then it cuts to him, and he's got this long fingernail, and he says, again, these lines are so great. He says, "This place is hereby condemned," and he cuts his palm in a really cool effect. You know what I mean? Practical effect, and you got the neon predator blood. You know what I mean? And he's just throwing his blood everywhere, having fun. And this is Billy Zane's movie. He's the star of this movie. Even though Breaker's the hero, Jada Pinkett's probably the biggest known person now. This is Billy Zane's movie. And I want to know how much is ad-libbed by this man. Because like when the demons are coming up, and it's, bubbling earth and slime and snot and all this stuff. And there's one scene where you see the one baby demon comes up. And he gives it a kiss on the head, and then he looks at the people inside the hotel room, and he winks at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he wrote like that.
And I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
It's so essentially it becomes a siege movie,
Mm-hmm.
and Breaker has to go around and like keep in mind he's got a limited amount of blood. I'm not going to spoil just yet whose blood it might be.
Right.
But he's like fucking pouring it on the windows, pouring it on the doorsteps, and he's essentially kind of fortified the house
Mm-hmm.
against the collector, and kind of some of the characters break off and go into different rooms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the action kind of it slows down, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't become not interesting. It becomes kind of like there is a bit of kind of tenseness and a bit of fucking kind of.
It gives you breathing room because you need that because when the shit hits the fan, it's full force. Like once the demons are born, I guess you would say, and they look fucking cool. Every single demon is different. You got some with man buns, you got some with pierced nipples, you got some with nose rings, you got some that just look creepy and scary.
Yeah,
that's an intense scene when Breaker's shooting them all. You find out you got to shoot them in the eyes to kill them. Some are going through the force field and getting melted, and then Willie, of course, just like, oh, that's disgusting, it's stuff like that. But then you have a chance for them to separate, and the collector likes to seduce some people. Breaker gives his backstory, and again, like I said, you have that not relaxation, but you have that, you get to catch your breath because once the action pumps back up.
And it's like it's interesting because like you're never kind of like later on it's explained what happened, but
Mm-hmm.
like the scenes are so well done, you're not like asking, well, what's going on here? You're like, no, we're in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll just fucking accept it for here and now, and maybe if we get an explanation, I'll be happy, but I'm not concerned with what the fuck the reasoning behind this whole situation is. I just want to make sure these characters don't die. Who's the first person to bite the bullet? Is it?
I think it's Cordelia. No, well, technically it's Wally,
mm-hmm.
but Cordelia, because Cordelia is seduced by the collector. He talks about how she's beautiful, she doesn't need to be a prostitute, this and that. I love you, blah blah blah. So she's seduced. When you get seduced, that means you're going to get possessed by the collector, eventually turned into a demon. And then she brings Wally in because, again, Wally's the little puppy dog. He loves her. And then you cut to him screaming. And she is in full demon mode, and she's got him on the ground clawing his face. So technically, I guess you'd say he's the first to die, unless I've forgotten something other than, the sheriff. And then that's such a fucking intense scene because Wally's getting clawed. He's dead. He gets thrown. You got Irene wanting to stab Cordelia, and she gets her arm against the the side of the door, the door frame, and it literally compound fracture backwards and ripped off. And she is destroyed because Cordelia, because they have to they have to destroy the eyes. She gets shot in the face with a shotgun, but her eyes are still squiggling around on the ground. I mean, that's pure Tales from the Crypt moment right there. So they have to shoot the eyes right there.
Eyes. It's again. It's like holy shit. This fucking gore is over the top.
Yes.
But it doesn't. Again, because it's Tales from the Crypt, it doesn't fucking. If this movie was trying to play it straight, you'd be like, this is fucking ridiculous. But no, it's perfectly suited for the tone.
Mm-hmm.
And again, fucking, your one losing her arm. Jesus, that looked painful. That looked fucking.
Because it's just like, again, the way, CCH Pounder, the way she screams, and then the sound effect. It's like, I know a lot of times what they do is they like to take celery for bones breaking, and that's like the sound you get. But the fact that it wasn't just ripped off, it was pushed back 180 degrees and then ripped off.
It's God.
And then it immediately cuts to downtime. So it's perfectly. It literally goes from the eyes getting shot, because every time the eyes die, you get this like green lightning effect. You literally see the eyes, boom. Screen flashes green, and then we get to Irene drinking vodka, and we get a tourniquet put on. You know what I mean?
It's a cool kill, and it's really well shot. I think Willie comes up with the idea that there's a passage underneath the church.
I think so. Yeah.
That leads to the town, so they decide to go that way. And it turns out the collector has infected the entire town as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Breaker has to cover the mine shaft.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember Roach being the fucking idiot he is. He blows the fucking boards to the mine shaft and wrecks the kind of barrier.
Well, what he does is we meet little Danny. Danny was the boy that stopped Breaker from stealing the car. And it was at a diner, and Roach was working the diner, and the cook and everyone was there. That was Danny's family. And what it was is Roach, being a dumb shit, one of the demons, they're still somewhat in human form, was Danny's dad, who was the owner of the diner. And he says, hey, Frank, this is for 5 years at minimum wage, asshole. And he shoots him, and that kills the demon, but it destroys the barrier. So that was all for nothing. They have to run the fuck back upstairs.
It kind of moment to Jeopardy juxtaposed with some really good humor where he's like, fucking, fuck you, asshole. And destroys the barrier. So they're back to square one as well. And meanwhile, the collector is kind of like looming around. And I kind of forgot how in and out Billy Zane in this movie is, because he's kind of just in the first part and the last kind of part, he kind of fleetingly turns up. Probably my favorite scene with him is where he possesses and corrupts Uncle Willie.
Yeah.
I love that scene. That scene with the tiki bar, the topless tiki bar.
Yeah, but what I love is before that is, he tries to seduce Geraldine, which is Jada Pinkett, and she doesn't fall for it. But my favorite, other than the tiki bar scene for obvious reasons, is I love when he tries to seduce Irene, and she's up in the fucking attic or something. The door opens, and this motherfucker, he comes up and he's got a platter. It lifts up the platter, the lid, and it's a fucking arm. You know what I mean? I can give you your arm back or whatever. And then Irene, she's like this, she lifts up her arm like that. He's like, is that a yes? No, that's me giving you the finger, asshole. If it wasn't CCH Pounder, that line would have fucking stunk. You know what I mean? But because Irene is so cool, she's already shown how cool she was. You buy it.
It's another great character moment between two kind of heavyweight actors.
Yeah.
But
then we get Uncle Willie, yeah.
You get to Uncle Willie, and whether it's like I think Danny goes missing, so they go looking for Danny, and or am I after? Maybe I'm after fucking jumping past, because is that when they get trapped on the stairwell? They have to end up getting upstairs.
Uncle Willie. Well, they get up. They go up to the. Yeah. What happens is they go up the stairs, and then Breaker does his little force field thing with the blood, I guess, and that's when we actually get the backstory of who Breaker is and how old he is. And I don't know if you want to go into that or not.
Fuck it, this is from
95.
1995. Spoilers!
Yeah.
Spoilers for a movie that's how fucking old. Eric, I'll let you handle this. I'll let
Okay.
you give Breaker's backstory.
I love the backstory because it's such a air quote such a stupid backstory, but the way William Sadler says it, he's got this little whispery voice. It sounds like a ghost story to me. It's so and so fucking serious. You find out that paraphrased, when God created the earth and the universe and blah blah blah, there was a certain amount of keys made. If the demons get all the keys, they rule the world, right? One of these keys, the last key that the one Breaker has, was eventually filled up by the blood of Jesus Christ as he was being crucified. It was filled up by a thief. Eventually, the thief was killed. He gave the key to this person, so on and so on and so on. And eventually, I believe it's World War One.
Yeah,
is where we see Breaker, and he is taking out one of the Germans, and it's a demon because he shoots him. And you see the green stuff and everything, and then he's freaking out. And then he sits down, he looks at his sergeant or whatever, and his sergeant is taking a bullet, and he tells Breaker the story. He puts his blood in mixed with everyone else, so it doesn't matter as long as the blood is somewhat mixed with Jesus's blood. It becomes holy or whatever. And excuse me, what I love is they tell the story, and then he takes the key and he gives it to Breaker, but it kind of burns this living tattoo of stars into the palm of the hand, and they're all kind of bunched up together. And then when they separate in like a perfect circle, that's when shit's gonna happen. So, and it's really cool because William Sadler looks like he's probably in his 50s. I mean, if he was that old, or at least mid 40s in World War One. Even Deputy Bob, he's trying to do the math. So it's cool how he's cursed to be to stop the demons until
warrior.
Yeah. And again, based on Sadler's performance, kind of like the whole, me giving you the finger asshole line. If it was anyone else telling this story, you'd be laughing. You'd be like, that's fucking stupid.
It would fall flat in its ass.
Yeah, but his performance is just so good. His delivery is so good. You buy it. Tales from the Crypt or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think after he tells the story, Roach blindsides him and says, "Hey man, you know what? You're pretty much badass." And he shakes his hand, but he also fucking pockets the key.
He steals the key.
I think Danny goes missing, and they go looking for Danny, and then the Uncle Willie scene comes up.
Well, but I think before that is he can't seduce Uncle Willie yet because of the force field. He can't get up there.
Yeah.
Roach makes the deal with the Collector.
Oh, okay.
Like, Billy Zane, he's got two demons behind him, and he's like, Roach, we're not going to hurt you, are we? And then he looks at the demons, you're like, no. And he says, yeah, well, Roach says, I want to cut a deal. You have the key, you let me live. We'll let him live, right, guys? Yeah. But there's one little thing, you got to clean up the blood. And it's just a fucking hilarious effect. Billy Zane opens up his mouth, and a big gigantic fucking sponge comes out.
Yeah. That's right. And he goes, thanks. Well, if it makes you feel good, what was it?
He says, he says, he hands him over the key after he wipes it up, and he says, he's like, well, if you got to kill Breaker, he's an asshole. Well, I think I might do it. Well, if it makes you feel good, do it. And then again, Billy Zane repeats that line. Like, well, if it makes you feel good, do it, like a hick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then as Roach is walking away, these stupid lines that work. He says, "This hell on earth, that ain't nothing. I got hemorrhoids." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Billy Zane, one more last time, he says, "Oh, Roach, you know what? That whole letting you live thing, I lied." And then they just pounce on him, and blood is coming up, and that's when they go find Uncle Willie.
That's like again. Again, you got Billy Zane and Thomas Hayden Church bouncing off each other, and it just works so well.
Billy Zane's just such a fucking ham in this movie. I love it.
Oh, again, I love that quote. He goes, "Look, I want to make the character unique." So I
Mm-hmm.
thought about like, what if the genie from Disney's Aladdin was evil?
Mm-hmm.
And this is perfect. It's just this is fucking kooky
And
shit.
if you think about it, when he does the cowboy accent sometimes. Pick on. If you watch his body movements, it's very cartoony. Sometimes he like skips and his chest is out and his shoulders are back, stuff like that. He's just trying to be a big shot.
I like a fucking Tex Avery character or something as well.
Exactly.
So the Uncle Willie goes into a room and all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden he's in a topless tiki bar.
Yeah, because he opens the door and he literally just goes, "Holy shit!"
And you've Billy Zane in the shirt with the hat and the sun shirt. He's like, "Hey, Uncle Willie,
Yeah, how you doing?
I got the good shit here."
Yeah. Nothing gets you fucked up better, And he's got like one of them long cigarettes, and he's Willie's there. He's already an alcoholic. He's got all these naked chicks behind him. One, Tracy Bingham's there, Chasey Lane's there, basically any Playboy playmate that they could find. And then Willie's thinking about it because he knows he's gonna turn into a demon. That's the thing. Willie's a drunk, but he's not stupid, so he knows what's gonna happen. But again, all you got these pretty women that like hands on the shoulders. They're kind of egging him on, and then alcoholics. He drinks it, and then suddenly we get Monster Uncle Willie, which I think is a fucking fun scene too.
It is. I just like, here's a long hard one for you.
Yeah.
I like the long hard one. Yeah, Uncle Willie, we like the long hard one as well. And Breaker comes in and Uncle Willie attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like hunting paraphernalia. There's a bow and there's like
they're like I guess you would say like in the den or something.
Yeah. And it's another cool fight because like fucking Uncle Willie goes fucking hell for leather onto a Breaker, and he manages to decapitate him, but he's still fucking alive. So I think Danny has to pick up the head and stick it onto the antlers. Is it antlers?
Danny's scared, so eventually he takes the rug and he just covers up the head. And as Geraldine shows up, and Willie's got Breaker in one hand, Geraldine in another. And then eventually Breaker's able to say, "You got to kill the eyes." And again, it being goofy, you hear the heads under the rug say, "I heard that." So Danny runs. He lifts up the rug. He grabs Uncle Willie's head, and he sees some antlers. Because like I said, it's like the hunting den or whatever. And he just rams the head into the antlers. The eyes get impaled.
And yeah, it's another cool scene. Because the barrier is broken, the demons are able to come up. Mm-hmm. And Deputy Bob and Irene are separated.
Mm-hmm.
So they go up to the attic and they find out lovable Wally was planning a fucking going to go postal at the post office. He's got like an Uzi and he's got a vest with like a grenade vest.
They open up like a literal like trunk. And she's like, "That son of a bitch, he was reading all our letters. Like he didn't deliver any mail. And then he was reading like some of them were love letters to Cordelia, and she's like, that crazy son of a bitch was gonna go blow up the post office for Cordelia, and shit's going down. They got guns, and then in this total badass slow motion moment, one-armed Irene, she picks up this vest of grenades and just puts it over her neck, and shit's gonna go down.
And the demons are getting closer, and she's like, "Okay, boys. It's supper time," and she pulls the fucking the fucking rig.
What I love, to me, it reminded me of Vasquez and Gorman in Aliens, because they're telling everybody to go up to the attic. Deputy Bob's out of ammo. Breaker wants to help her. She's like, "No, get up there." She's like, "My house, my rules. Get the fuck up there." So they close the door. They just like Gorman and Vasquez. They hold hands. And then they have that cool line where she says, "Supper time," and she pulls all the pins, and then boom. And like a tip, what I think is funny a little bit, you see the little, I guess you'd say the door where you would get to the attic, that blows up. Geraldine's upset, Breaker's disappointed, and Danny, he's just sitting there reading a comic like nothing's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's an emotional moment, but because it's a Tales from the Crypt moment, we're sad, but it's fucking ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Then comes one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it's up there with the remake of the Blob. They have the fucking balls to kill the kid. So I think Danny's reading the comic, and somehow the collector's in the comic, and he
Yeah,
possesses.
he's flipping through, and you just see a zombie, and then suddenly the zombie's eyes turn real, and they're
Yeah.
green, and then Danny does the thing, and then suddenly they turn around. He is one cool fucking looking demon.
Oh,
His
scary.
he looks like something to me, like that would be in like the real Ghostbusters cartoon. You know what I mean? Just so weirdly proportioned with his jaw is like all the way down to the floor. And
Yeah.
he's got like probably a tongue that's like 2 feet long, the talons and everything. And what I like about this scene is it's a nod to the EC comics that Tales from the Crypt started as, because every time an action scene happens, you see that in the comics. You see Geraldine yelling, you see Danny going after Breaker, and then
Yeah.
sadly when Breaker gets it, that's very brutal too, because Breaker is literally impaled with the tongue, and you see the
Yeah.
tongue like in his, I think it's like in his chest, and you literally see it like going up and down, and it's a good 1/4 inch into his chest.
So he's fucked. He's
Yeah, he's
you
fucked.
know
And
he's
then I
fucked.
think it's Geraldine that kills Danny, because I think she like jump kicks him or whatever, and they've already done the barrier on the window and
So the
jump kicks
barrier
Danny.
destroys him.
Yeah, he goes out and then boom, explosion.
Yeah, it's like they have the balls to kill a kid,
Hmm.
and they do it in a very gory manner, and they
Hmm.
also it's a shock because you kill the kid and you also kill our protagonist
Yeah.
essentially in the one scene, and then fucking the collector makes his appearance and tries
Hmm.
to seduce Jada Pinkett Smith's character, and like it's interesting because like he could probably kill her there and
Hmm.
then, but he's like, I wait before he turns up. Does Breaker convert her into a demon knight actually?
Yes, because he says this is basically your job, and she doesn't want it. She doesn't want it. But what he does is, again, he puts some of his blood on inside the inside the key, and then he does the thing with her hand, and it's kind of a cool glowing effect too, because it's just 2 hands probably over a light bulb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still pretty cool looking, if you ask me, because it's hidden so well. You literally just see the lights in between their fingers.
Yeah, it's not kind of overdone. It's probably, as you said, it's probably a really simple effect
Hmm.
that works really, really fucking well. And like you don't need something big and elaborate to kind of get the thing. Well, he's passed on his power to her, and
Right.
that works. That works really fucking well.
Hmm.
Um, so does she go through the house, or does Billy Zane come up through the fucking
I
attic?
think I think he comes up to her because they have a little fight, and what happens is eventually. Oh, I know what happens. What is it? He shows up and he's looking for her, and then she's there and she's literally dressed in just her bra and underwear, but she's covered in blood.
Yeah,
So that's what happens. So she like grabs his hand, and it's burning him, because earlier he gets shot in the eye with an arrow, and you think he's dead, but he looks at her and that's what he says. That eyeball thing only works on low level demons. I don't make up the fucking rules. So you realize the only way he can die is the blood. So she covers herself in the blood, but he takes her and he throws her in a shower, in like a bathtub, and
yeah,
turns it on. But what's smart, and it's they don't hide the fact. You see it right on screen. You see her drinking from the key.
yeah.
So he's washing all the blood off of her. He breaks her arm. Again, these compound fractures in this movie. The noise is super loud. And then he's about ready to kill her. Like he's like, all right, bye, baby. And she literally spits right in his face. Nothing but this
But
holy blood, I guess you would say it. And he
and
literally starts melting.
he turns it like does he fucking again? I should have watched. I should have. It was last week I watched this,
Hmm.
but he turns into this big fucking demonic kind of form as he's burning, right?
Well, he starts blistering again, and I think the makeup looks good. He starts blistering. He's pulling at his shirt and smoke's coming up from his collars and stuff like that. And then suddenly his face is really starting to melt, and I think it kind of explodes. And then he turns into like this gigantic demon looking bat dragon looking fucking creature for 5 seconds or whatever. And then I think he explodes.
Yeah.
And I think she jumps in the tub to save herself.
Yeah, from the explosion.
Mhm.
But again, it's really cool because like she uses her wits.
Mhm.
She's clever about it. He counteracts her with the shower curtain in the shower, but she has the blood, and that she realizes I need to get in close
Mhm.
to do maximum damage to this,
Mhm.
and it's really cool kind of thing. So she ends up taking the mantle as Demon Knight, and like she's kind of made her own set of rules. She gets in the bus, but before she leaves, she just pours the fucking blood
Mhm.
on the fucking the step of the bus,
Uh-huh.
and the bus pulls up, and there's another collector, and he's like, "Oh, I'll get the next one."
Yeah, he's about ready to step on, and again, trench coat,
Hmm.
cowboy hat type, and he's like, "Nah, I'll get the next one," and they drive away, and then it's great because as he's walking away, he whistles the Tales from the Crypt TV theme.
Yeah, that's a nice kind of fucking nod.
Mhm.
Soundtrack again. The soundtrack for this movie, like fucking Sepultura,
Mhm.
Megadeth, Pantera. I mean, if you were a metaler in the '90s, you would have fucking loved this.
Well,
What's the track you love at the start?
it's a "Hey Man, Nice Shot" by Filter. Every time I hear that song, the bass line, and then once you get to the chorus, I'm literally always picturing Billy Zane behind the wheel of his car. You know what I mean? And what is great is because you have all that action, and then suddenly there's no song, and then once Breaker gets away, it starts with "I wish I would have met you." That line from them. So they keep with the song. They just give you a little bit of breathing room. So, and that's what I think is great for a movie is if they pick a song that every time you hear that song, you think of a specific movie that it's from.
Or a particular scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
it puts you into that mindset. This movie is incredibly criminally underrated.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a cult following, but nowhere near to the level like say John Carpenter's The Thing or like trying to think of other movies. Why do you think this movie still hasn't really kind of fucking made its mark?
I wonder if it came out a little too late when Tales from the Crypt was on its run. I think maybe because as the seasons go on, I don't think Jen's there yet. But when you get to like the last 2 seasons, especially the last season, they're pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they just waited too long to do a Tales from the Crypt type movie. If they maybe started with like season 2 or 3, which it was still at its high point, it would have made a lot more money. But also, you're also basing it on a comic series from the 50s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And a TV show that was HBO at the time. Not everybody had HBO back then. That was when you had to pay for a premium service. You know what I mean? And it wasn't
Yeah.
just like $9.99 a month. You were paying like $40 a month, if not more, for HBO. So,
Yeah, there was a very limited audience or accessibility
mhm.
to the show. Like again, it initially didn't do well when it came out, and as I said before, it's garnered a cult following, but not as big as others. Do you think it hasn't been around long enough to kind of garner the appreciation of say like The Thing or you know
Well,
Predator 2 or
well,
Alien 3?
think about it this way: Alien 3, regardless, it's in the Alien franchise, which is huge. Predator
Mm-hmm.
2 is Predator franchise, huge. The Thing is both John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. Now we've praised the cast of this, but no one big is in this. Jada
Yeah.
Pinkett is more known as being Will Smith's wife. William Sadler is, hey, it's that guy. Billy Zane, hasn't been popular since the 80s. You know what I mean? Dick Miller, everybody knows Dick Miller, but they don't have a cast.
Yeah.
They didn't have a well-known director, and Ernest Dickinson still really isn't well-known unless you know who the fuck. You got to be like us, you got to know who Ernest Dickinson is. You know what I mean? So I think it just doesn't have so much behind it. It doesn't have that one big name person. It's not like, fucking, this was Henry Cavill's first movie or something like that. You know what I mean? It just doesn't have that in it. And Tales from the Crypt, a lot of people, when they think of Tales from the Crypt, in my opinion, they think of the Crypt Keeper. They think of the puns, the cheesiness, and they might want to overlook it. They think of maybe, oh, wait, is that the one with Corey Feldman? No, that's the second one. That's the vampire one that you don't really want to see. So they might overlook Demon Knight and just say, oh, that's the one with Dennis Miller who hunts vampires, that type of thing.
Is there anything about this movie that you're not gone on? Do you think there's any weak points to this movie?
If there is, it's nitpicking. It's something that I always notice. One thing I hate in movies, it's like when something happens to someone's hand, and you can tell it's not their hand. Like, Marty McFly, when his hand's disappearing, you can tell that's literally an effect like this. Or, when something happens, you got the actor standing there, and then it's someone else's hand going up like that.
In the foreground, yeah.
When you see Breaker's hand or Geraldine's hand and the tattoos are moving, you can tell it's a robotic hand just by the way the fingers are barely moving.
It's very inorganic.
Yeah, if it was literally just looking at their hand like that, believable. That's all you had to do. But they wanted to try to make it look realistic, so they had to have like the motors moving the hands, and it literally sticks out real bad. Other than that, no. Like I said, that's nitpicking. I think this movie is fantastic from beginning to end. And I don't mind the Crypt Keeper stuff either. It's needed. It's a bookend, so you don't get that much. You get just the right amount because he's introducing the story, like in the TV show, and he's, saying this is the end, like at the end of the TV show. So perfect tone-wise.
For me, the Crypt Keeper kind of annoying, but the part that it is a Crypt Keeper part where he gets up and he's walking, and you're like, that's a really shanky effect.
It is now, but I'll tell you what, when I saw that in 1995, I thought, holy fucking shit, the Crypt Keeper can walk. You know what I mean? I loved it back then. It does look weird now because you can tell like the actor's hunched over and he's like over exaggerating, his legs moving. Yeah. I think that kind of adds to the charm, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's again like your pick with the hand. It's a nitpick.
Right.
In an overall fantastic movie. Mm-hmm. If you were going to recommend this to someone and you were like, okay, well, what are your, like, if someone was a horror fan already and they watch particular movies, what movies do you think I'm really terrible at trying to fucking enunciate.
Okay, dude.
What movies would you compare this to that if people like, say, Evil Dead 2 or something like that? Would you kind of say, check this out if you like the following movies?
I would definitely say if you like the Evil Dead movies, if you like Cabin in the Woods, anything where it's a group of people in a one location and they can't escape and the outside forces are trying to get in. Because that's what this is, because Breaker's only outside 10 minutes of the movie, and then the rest of the film is inside that motel or whatever. So if you're a fan of any type of people secluded in the woods in a cabin, like this is for you. Like definitely the Evil Dead, the first two at least, Cabin in the Woods for sure.
Yeah, it's a great horror comedy. It's up there with Evil Dead 2. I'm probably going to do a watch stream for Halloween. But yeah, again, fantastic movie. Check it out. Before I finish things off, I want to know, dude, what have you got in the pipeline? What do you want people to check out?
Two Bearded Losers is back. That's what I'm focusing on most of my time now on my channel here, because with work, I don't really have time to put up regular videos. But we came back. We've already had 2 episodes back. We did Jason Takes Manhattan. Last Saturday, we did Maximum Overdrive. At the end of last Saturday, we said this coming Saturday we were going to do the Monster Squad. We're going to postpone that for a week because we just had something drop in our lap. Frenzy said it's okay to discuss it this Saturday. We're going to discuss Rob Zombie's The Munsters.
Oh, that should be interesting.
And I'm not going to. I have already watched it. He has already watched it. And we're not saying a fucking word till Saturday.
Okay.
So Saturday night on my channel, Hey Internet, Eric here, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Frenzy and I will be discussing The Munsters from Rob Zombie.
So check that out. If you want a good, concise, and honest opinion, check out Two Bearded Losers. With that, I'm going to round it off here. But again, I want to thank Eric for stopping by.
Of course.
Dude's a legend. He's the fucking bomb. Check him out. Check out the Two Bearded Losers. I don't know what I'm reviewing. Myself and Jen are supposed to be doing Hawk the Slayer. We're supposed to be doing it tonight, but she wanted to go see Pearl, and you know you've got to keep the ladies happy. So I said I'd postpone it, and I decided, you know what, I've free time, so I'll hang with this sexy motherfucker, and we'll discuss a classic.
Well, I appreciate it.
90s. No, it's always fun, and
Yeah.
I always love shooting the shit with you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, with that, guys, I'm gonna round it off here. But again, Eric, thanks a million, dude, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye now. Wow.